So today we're with John Martin from Post University, Esports Director. He's going to talk about his esports program, and for sure we're going to have a lot of valuable information. So, John,
Perfect.
appreciate your time.
Of course. Thanks, Ivan. Thanks for having me. So I'll just do a quick kind of rundown and history of our program, if that's cool.
Yeah, of course.
Great. So we're Post University Esports. We launched in the fall of 2020 during COVID, and we've since grown the program now to about 35 student athletes competing on 8 different game titles. We compete in Smash Bros. Ultimate, Valorant, Overwatch, Rocket League, League of Legends, NBA 2K, and Madden. Our game titles are based on student interest, so may change. At one point, we had a Halo Infinite team. We've had FIFA team. We've had a Hearthstone team. So those other teams kind of come and go, but generally, for the most part, Smash, Valorant, Overwatch, Rocket League, and League of Legends are kind of our core titles. Last spring season, we won the ECAC Division B Championship in Valorant, and we won the ECAC PlayStation Division Championship in NBA 2K as well. We've also had multiple second place finishes in the NECC as well as the ECAC, which are the 2 conferences that we primarily compete in. We have multiple dedicated coaches on our staff who are high ranked in their various game titles that they coach. We have a dedicated Valorant coach. We have a dedicated Rocket League coach. I'm the dedicated Smash and League of Legends coach, as well as being the director. We have a staff of shoutcasters to stream the matches on our Twitch channel. And we also have a community of casual gamers, 300 strong in our student community, who run all kinds of casual game nights, streaming events, charity streams, stuff like that. They'll teach you how to be a streamer. We have a stream team if that's something that you're interested in. And we also have one of the only complete degree programs in esports management. So it's a gaming and esports management business degree program. We have a minor, a bachelor's, and a master's degree in that. So whatever level of education you're at, if esports is something that you're interested in getting into at a professional level and not just a playing level, that's something that we can kind of help you through as well.
That's great, John. And before we dive into all the specifics of what you just mentioned, tell us a bit about yourself. Like, what has been your journey to being an esports
Yeah,
director in
that's
Post
a
University?
that's an interesting story. Yeah, so I've been a gamer all my life. Starting with the Super Nintendo era and just kind of going on from there. I majored in photography at UMass, University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, and that was good, but it was kind of before esports had really taken off as a business. So these kinds of jobs hadn't really existed yet, but never really felt completely right to me. I bounced around a few jobs in photography. Eventually got hired as a 911 operator on Cape Cod, which is our emergency services department, where I was dispatching police, fire, and medical for all of Cape Cod, which is in Massachusetts. And then a couple years into that, my wife found a posting for esports coordinator at Post University, and I was just like, oh man, that sounds so cool. I just said, hey, maybe I'll apply and see what happens, right? And to my great surprise, they were interested in giving me an interview, and I sat down for the interview. And when I sat down for the interview, I came in with a plan. I was like, I did some research on your school. You guys are in this conference. I saw this conference does esports as well, and they play Valorant and Overwatch there. So we're going to make a Valorant Overwatch team. We're going to kind of go from there. And I guess they liked my plan because they hired me, and then I was able to, quit dispatching and move back to Connecticut, which is actually where my family's originally from, which was nice. Made a lot of sense as well. Now I'm here. It felt weird putting all of my gaming experience on a professional resume because it was the first time I had really done that. But putting all the ranks that I've achieved in various games, the tournaments that I've run or been a part of. I was a guild master of a World of Warcraft guild, which I put on my resume, which really felt silly at the time, but they liked it. So that's what ended up happening. And that's kind of how I've got to where I am today. And then I just kind of built the program from the ground up. So I was hired in fall of 2020 to actually launch the program. So we had nothing. We had a room that was cubicles that was marked out for the esports lab at some point whenever we built it, and we had a Discord server with 15 students in it. And so that's what I had to work with. And then I built the program, over the last 3 years from that.
That's great. And from all those 300 gamers plus the competitive players you have, how does that community that you created enhance like networking and after graduation like success in terms of like if they want to get a job in the esports sector or if
Mhm.
they want to get a job in the degree they studied?
Yeah, so we have a lot of people that are involved at the varsity and the club level who have connections to amateur organizations, to developers and publishers of the game titles. Like, for example, our Valorant coach, he's been working with an amateur Valorant organization that runs tournaments. Rocket League coach also works for Psionics on the RLCS as a seeder for their tournaments and whatnot. So he's connected very deeply within the Rocket League professional community. And then we have another player who's very invested in the League of Legends scene and all kinds of stuff. So pretty much whatever niche, whatever game titles that you enjoy, you'll be able to find a community of other students and other players to kind of help you along there, who will be connected to uh, other organizations. We also, as an organization, have a relationship with TSM through their TSMU partnership program, where they reach out to collegiate programs. So we're trying to make those inroads with the professional orgs as well.
That is great. And right now, what is your status as an esports programs? Like, are you in the athletic department? Are you in the student affairs? Like, what is your
Great
status
question.
right now?
So the first year and a half, we were under student affairs as we were building the program. But in the summer of 2022, we were promoted to a full athletic varsity program. So I get a budget for staff. I get a budget for jerseys, replacing the esports lab equipment, purchasing whatever else we need to fund the program. And the athletics department here at Post has been incredibly helpful and very welcoming of the program. They see the students as athletes, even though they're not playing a traditional sport. They're still given that same kind of prestige, right? They still have access to our athletic counselor for mental health issues and wellness. They still have access to our weight room and training room, and we do also have. We try to get down there regularly for team lifts and team workouts. Even though it's esports, we still want to try to stay physically healthy. So we make sure to get down there when we can, as a team, whether that's like the whole esports team or if it's just the Rocket League team or just the Smash team or whatever, we'll try to get down there. Or even it's just to hang around and shoot hoops in the gym or something. We try to stay active whenever we can. But the players are seen as athletes here on campus, which is really nice.
That's great. And um, you mentioned the teams you have, no? But like, how did they start? Was it like it was a student run, and then gradually the video games that you have like were the ones that the students were more interested, or did the program choose the games because it was the most played games of other universities? How they had the
So
how did that
we didn't
happen?
really we didn't really factor into account like what other universities were playing really.
Okay.
It was pretty much just when I first started, I sent out a student interest survey like, "Hey, what games do you guys play?" Right? And I actually had no idea that I had no idea about Rocket League. I had never played. I kind of briefly knew about the game. I didn't really know much about the game at all. When the student interest survey came back, we had a bunch of high level Rocket League players. So I was like, okay, I guess I need to learn Rocket League because we clearly need to have a Rocket League team because we have a lot of really good players, right? So that's kind of how most of our teams developed. It was through that student interest, right? So like a student will come to me basically and be like, hey, I really love this game. I want to try to form a team for it. I'll say, great, find a couple other students, however many you need to form a team, form that team. I'll kind of help you guys get enrolled in a league to compete in, and you guys kind of do your own thing as a club team for a semester or two, see how it goes. If they do well, if they're showing up to all their matches and practices, they're winning a few, maybe qualifying for playoffs, they're bonding as a team, then they kind of will get elevated to that varsity status. They'll get full coaching support, full streaming support, broadcast support. They'll get their customized jerseys, all that jazz. But it kind of that's basically how a new game title would be developed in Post. And it's nice because we're very flexible, right? We don't, like I said, we have a kind of our core titles that we've always competed in since like the second semester that we existed. But outside of that, that's pretty much how new game titles will kind of rise and fall. And then like, so for example, that happened with Halo, right? Our Halo Infinite team, they were a club team for a semester, did really well, qualified for playoffs, promoted them to varsity status, and they played another season, did really well. But then we lost a couple players to graduation, didn't have any new freshmen coming in that wanted to play that game. So now we don't have a Halo team anymore. But the game titles will always be based on student interest, and the most popular games, Smash, League of Legends, Valorant, Overwatch, those are pretty much always going to have teams.
And can you give us a spoiler of like next video games that you're thinking of implementing?
Well, our conference just introduced Street Fighter 6 and Omega Strikers, and also Counter-Strike 2, which are all really popular. And so there's obviously good reason that they wanted to introduce those games. The fighting games are generally pretty easy to implement, especially if they're 1v1, which most of them are. So you have one student that wants to play, like, cool, you're the team. Have fun. You know what I mean? Go nuts. But as far as the team games go, that's a little bit more difficult because you have to obviously get a full group of students together, committed to come to the same practice times every week, the same match times every week, and all of that. But I always try to help out with that. With that wherever I can. Setting expectations right from the start. Making sure everyone's following our code of conduct that I lay out right from the beginning. We're pretty strict on that. Like, we want to make sure we're always being respectful when we compete, being respectful to our opponents, to our teammates, to ourselves as well, which is really important. Negative self-talk is a big deal in general in life, and specifically also in esports. And I know it is, for me personally as well. So, and with a lot of our players, so that's something that we really try to strive hard for. We have mental wellness workshops 1 to 2 times per semester, where we have our mental wellness counselor come in and talk to the students about like emotional regulation and identification, how to avoid tilting if it does happen, how to deal with it and process it, how to communicate issues and problems to your teammates, how to work through conflicts and have the resolutions come like naturally instead of having to involve someone else or get a third party in or have it explode into some kind of huge issue. So we always make sure we have either myself or assistant coach or the team counselor come in to kind of resolve any issues that pop up.
That's great. And can you talk a bit more about the facilities? Because how do you fit like 300 gamers there?
So I should specify our varsity players. There's only about 35 varsity players. The 300 that I mentioned, that's a total student population of like all online and in-person gamers that are in our club. And that's just the amount of students that are in our Discord server for our club. That's not, we don't have 300 people coming to our esports lab every week. And a lot of them are alumni. A lot of them are prospective students. They're just interested in the program, but they're not even actually students yet. And then most of them are, current students. But those current students are kind of split about 50-50 between online students and in-person students. So yeah, generally there's about 35 to 40 student athletes, give or take, per semester. We have an esports lab here that's 2 rooms. The room I'm in now is the classroom / broadcasting room, streaming room. So we have a couple streaming setups. We have the classroom to teach our esports management classes, and we have our shoutcasting area. And then the other room over there is our competition area, where we have the 22 gaming PC setups. We have multiple console setups. We have 3 PS5s and like 3 or 4 Nintendo Switches set up for the Smash and the sports title players to compete on. Basically, we kind of run the esports lab in a way that anyone on a varsity team or in the club is welcome to come by and use the space. If it gets to a point where there's too many people in the room, then we'll ask the people who are not on a varsity team to leave first, and we kind of will make the schedule of we make a schedule of when the teams are competing, when the teams are practicing. So people know, once 7-8 o'clock rolls around, it's time to get down to business. Like the varsity teams are playing, that kind of thing. So it can be a challenge sometimes, but because we want to make sure that the space is utilized to its full potential. But we also need to make sure that the varsity players are respected in their in their space and having the computer that they prefer to sit at available. The room's not too loud, et cetera, et cetera. So that's something that we're working on every semester. But yeah, that's generally the size of our esports lab.
Nice. And is there like a specific time that players are allowed to the facilities, or it's open 24/7?
we're not open 24/7, but we try to be open as much as possible. So
Mhm.
during during the summer, we're pretty much only open in on Sundays when we run our events. We run Smash tournaments every week in the summer on Sundays, so we're open then. Then during the season, which starts in August for the fall and starts in late January for the spring, that's when we open the lab, and we're open from pretty much 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. every single day, Monday through Friday, and then we're also open for 5 to 6 hour chunks on the weekends. But I always encourage my varsity players to get out and do other stuff on the weekends. Don't just grind constantly, because um, number one, they need to make sure they're getting their studies done, obviously, because that's the most important thing. And number two, I've found that players actually play better when they're not grinding constantly. Obviously, when you want to practice a lot and get your skills up and learn new things, that's obviously important. But the player who I see grinding, 8 hours a day all week, I'm gonna go up to them and be like, "Hey, you need to go take a break this week and go outside, touch some grass, go for a
Get
walk, go
some
for a
sunlight.
run." Exactly. Get some energy, and that's actually part of our game day routines as well. Our game day routines are very specific, because we need to make sure that we're playing at our peak at match time, right? So our game day preparation starts the night before. 8 hours of sleep, like mandatory. Got to get it right. So I don't care if it's 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. or whatever, but it's got to be 8 hours, right? 8 hours of sleep. Make sure they're eating well, healthy meals, right? Make sure they're going outside on match day before match time, getting some sun, some vitamin D, whatever, doing some form of exercise, even if it's just a walk. Um, and then 1 to 2 hours of warm up, solo, and then some team warm up, and then we do some meditative breathing, get ourselves centered and ready for the match. Sometimes that'll be solo, sometimes that'll be with the entire team. um, and then that way I found that if all of those steps are followed, like, that player will be playing at their peak. But all of those steps have to be followed. Nothing can really be ignored, especially not the sleep, especially not the especially not the warm up time, right? And we have specific warm up routines for based on the game title.
That's great. And just to like going back to the community aspect, like because a community can describe very well the esports program and its leader. So, how would you describe the community that you guys have built all together?
I'm striving to constantly have a welcoming, open community that's focused on improvement first and foremost, right? So number one in our code of conduct is be respectful to everyone. If anyone makes you feel uncomfortable, talk to them about it, or come talk to myself about it. We'll try to resolve the issue. Um, and number two, one of our main sayings is accountability without shame. And so what that means to us as a program is, number one, accountability. So holding yourself accountable for your own mistakes, holding your teammates accountable for their mistakes, holding your coaches and staff accountable for their mistakes. So everyone is working to improve, but not wallowing in that shame of, oh no, I messed up, right? It's okay to recognize that and acknowledge that and be accountable for that, and then work and take steps to make sure that that same mistake doesn't happen again, or that you're at least working towards improving at that specific skill, right? And once you recognize that feeling of shame, then process and moving through it, and not being stuck in this kind of like, oh no, I messed up, and then messing up again, and then oh no, and then again, again, again. So that's kind of what our team culture is about. First and foremost is respect all around, and then secondly is about improvement and processing through any kind of negative self-talk or negative emotions that come up within your own body.
Okay, that's great. And so, what are the partners like? How no, let me rephrase this question. How the partners you have or you had, how have they benefit the students, and also how does the university bring to the esport program? I don't know if I
No, no,
So
I think I understand. Yeah. So
yeah.
we have numerous partnerships. One partnership I mentioned earlier is with TSM through the TSMU Partnership Collegiate Program. They do workshops and mentorship programs that are great. They release videos and they have game nights and stuff. So we make sure to pump those out to our students whenever they get announced. And there are a couple students that have taken advantage of those opportunities there. One of our most important partnerships is with a local youth esports organization called Affinity Esports. They're based out of Newtown, Connecticut, which is about a 15-minute drive down the road from us. Um, and their mission is to provide a structured esports playing competition platform for youth, so kids between the ages of 5 and 17, right, that are looking for a more structured environment where they can compete in Valorant or CS:GO or Minecraft or whatever game that they're currently invested in. They can find a team of like-minded players who also enjoy that game. They can join that team and compete in a league against other youth players or against other high school players, which is really cool. Sometimes they'll join a league with other high school teams. Sometimes they'll join a league with other teams that are based out of parks and rec departments. Sometimes they'll just join national leagues that have teams that are just in that age bracket that aren't necessarily affiliated with a town or a school, right? But they just want to compete, right? So we have a very close relationship with them. We have numerous students who have received part-time and full-time job offers from that organization, either upon graduating or even pre-graduating, um, either with coaching or with player management or facility management. Um, the youth and scholastic space in high school and in youth is, I think, going to explode in the next 5-10 years. I think that's where a lot of the jobs in esports are going to come, is going to be youth, scholastic, high school, and collegiate. And I think um, organizations like Affinity Esports are going to be extremely important in that regard. So that's probably our most important partnership right now. And then, of course, we have other partnerships with Intel, who provided the some of the equipment in our esports lab. We have a partnership with Twitch, which is where we stream our matches, obviously, and then Lenovo as well, who we worked with to procure as well some of the esports lab equipment, including our monitors. So we have uh, relationships kind of up and down the esports spectrum, if you will.
That was great. And just to wrap this up, like where can students find you or your program?
Yeah, so our website is post.edu. You can find more information about our esports program either on YouTube. You can just search on YouTube Post University Esports. On Twitter, we're at Post Univ Esports, UNIV Esports. I am Denny #3752 on Discord. You're certainly welcome to friend me, send me a DM, so I can talk to you about our program. Always happy to do so. And yeah, that's pretty much the platforms that we're on. And then obviously our Twitch. We have 2 Twitch channels, twitch.tv/postuesports and twitch.tv/postuesports2. And then our club channel is twitch.tv/Avis Gaming Association. And that's our club stream where the students kind of run their own streams or have casual game nights or charity nights.
Sounds great, John. Well, we stay in touch and I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Ivan. Take care.